Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really cool philosophical take on a classic American novel. We're going to look at it through this unique lens of personal will versus the crushing pressure of the system. All right, let's just jump right in with the core idea of the whole analysis. This one sentence, man, it just perfectly sets the stage for the massive conflict we're about to unpack. The struggle of one person against a society that really doesn't like anyone who colors outside the lines. So to really wrap our heads around this story, we first have to define the forces at play on this battlefield. Because according to this analysis, it's not just about a person making choices. It's about the entire environment they're forced to make them in. Okay, first up is this concept called the chaos of the system, or delta S. Just think of this as static. All that external noise, societal judgment, super strict rules, and all the instability that stuff creates for anyone who dares to step out of line. And pushing back against all that static, well, that's what's called the vector of will, or V+. And that is you. It's your true north. It's your authentic, conscious choice, the path you carve out for yourself based on what you truly value, not what the world is yelling at you to want. And the ultimate goal here, the thing you are fighting to protect at all costs, is your internal order, represented by the letter P. This is your core. It's that personal integrity, that unshakable center of who you are that you have to keep stable and true, no matter how wild the storm gets on the outside. Okay, so now that we've got the theory down, let's see how these ideas actually play out in the real world. Or, well, the world of our main character, Jennie Gerhardt. Her story is just a powerful, powerful illustration of this exact struggle. So her first big, life-altering decision involves getting into a relationship with a wealthy senator. But, and this is absolutely crucial, you have to understand the why behind it. This isn't a love story. It has nothing to do with personal desire. It's a choice made out of pure desperation to literally save her family from starving. And this is where that whole framework gets really fascinating. Her choice here isn't an expression of her own vector of will at all, not even close. What she's doing is essentially turning herself into a human shield. She's sacrificing her own path to absorb the system's chaos that was threatening to destroy her family. It's an incredible act of self-sacrifice. All right, so let's fast forward a few years. Jennie finally finds a relationship that is genuinely her. It truly aligns with her vector of will, her authentic self. But as you can probably guess, this puts her on a direct collision course with the system. Her relationship with this guy, Lester Kane, it's the real deal. It's a conscious choice that comes from love and respect. It is her genuine vector of will finally getting a chance to shine. The only problem? Society does not approve. And so the system just unleashes an absolute storm of external chaos on them. And here we go. This is the critical test. The system fights back, and it fights back hard through Lester's wealthy, disapproving family. They put immense pressure on him, forcing him to choose. Is it going to be Jennie, his true vector of will, or his inheritance, his status, his entire place within that system? And, well, the outcome is pretty clear. Lester's will just isn't stable enough. The pressure of the system's chaos, all that status and money, it just outweighs his love for Jennie. He chooses the system. And in this battle, the system wins. So, if you're just looking at this from the outside, it seems like a total loss for Jennie. She loses the man she loves, her stability, she loses everything. But here's the twist. The analysis argues that this exact moment of devastating loss is precisely where her true victory is revealed. I mean, think about it. Instead of letting all that chaos and heartbreak break her, make her bitter or cynical, she preserves her core nature. In fact, she doubles down on her internal values: kindness, compassion, helping others. And this is the whole point. Her external world completely collapses. It's a disaster, but her internal order, her P, remains perfectly preserved, rock solid. Her will is unbroken. So in the only battle that this analysis says truly matters, she actually won. And this right here is the central lesson. True strength, a real victory, isn't about beating the system at its own game. It's about maintaining the integrity of your will, your values, even and maybe especially when it looks like you're losing on the outside. So let's see how this all builds into something we can actually use. Because this isn't just some abstract literary analysis. The source material actually proposes a framework for applying this very lesson to our own lives. The source argues that if you want to protect your own internal order from the chaos of whatever system you're in, social, corporate, you name it, you can't just wing it. You need a conscious strategy. You need what's called a code of choice. And it's presented as a pretty clear 3-step process. First, you have to consciously identify the external pressures, the delta S. Second, you have to get crystal clear on your authentic goal, your vector of will. And third, you apply a kind of decision-making filter. The source calls it an algorithm, but what it really is a series of questions to ask yourself to make sure your choice aligns with your core values, not with the external noise. And that's the powerful question this whole analysis leaves us with. It's a challenge, really. A challenge to look at our own lives, to identify the pressures we all face, and to ask ourselves that really tough question. When the system pushes back, and you know it will, is my will going to be strong enough to hold?